Okay.
Hi, this is Lilia with the Help Yourself podcast. And today, all the way from the West Coast of America, I have my beloved and dear friend, Dr. Sondra Barrett. Hi, Sondra. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thanks, Lily. It's a real treat. It's been too long.
Yeah, it has been. And I think really we need to start with how we met, which was how fate brought us together, which is quite a phenomenal story really on its own. I went online to order a book called The Secret of Your Cells by another author. And I saw your book on Amazon when I was going on to buy this other book. And I thought, oh, that looks interesting. That's my kind of book. And I ordered it and read it and then wrote to you and said, I loved your book. It's the best book I've ever read. And I said, you need to come to Malta and Scotland and teach. And this message is so phenomenal. And you said, well, okay, let's have a conversation. And before we knew it, you were in Malta with me, and then we came to Scotland, and we just had such a phenomenal few weeks of, and obviously bringing The Secret of Your Cells to life. So that was how we met. So since then, tell me all that you've been doing, because the main reason I wanted to talk to you, I mean, I know your book, your beautiful, beautiful book with all these magnificent pictures that you take are so fascinating as well. And you've now made them into tarot cards. So I know that a lot of my friends are going to be very, very interested in seeing and hearing the story behind them. So tell me what you've been doing since I saw you last.
Okay, what I'm trying to do is find the screen again. I seem to have lost us. I can hear you, but I don't see you. I think that was a mistake of me making it full screen. Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay, so you can see me, but I want to be able to see you. Okay, so it feels like Mercury retrograde. So how did I, well, what it was a treat for me was to be with you in Scotland and Malta. That was a real adventure to explore cells and I'd say your culture. And what I was concerned about today before this started was, will I be able to understand you? Because I remember the first time, it must have been on Zoom way back when, and I couldn't understand a word you said. And now it's so easy. Interesting.
Yes, and certainly when I lived in Canada, people used to say, pardon me, pardon me.
Yeah.
And I think after living in Malta, you had to slow your Scottish rabble accent down so that people could understand. So, but you definitely tune in, don't you? You get used to the accent.
Yeah, exactly. Even though we're both speaking English.
Yeah, can be very different. Yeah. And so tell me about, let's just get right into it with the tarot cards. And I know, and we'll also talk a little bit about your online course as well.
Okay.
What would you like to talk about first?
The cards.
Yes.
The cards, yeah. So the cards are actually not a tarot card. They're oracle cards, because tarot has a specific 78 cards. It's a specific format.
Okay.
So these are cards, I would call them divination cards. I don't even know if I would have called them oracle cards, but friends are. So, I photograph everything through the microscope.
Yes.
And so I had photographed these minerals that were said to be related to the zodiac 30 years ago, at least. Yes. And the only reason I agreed to photograph them was because to get this woman off my back who kept on saying, you got to do this. And it's like, I'm not interested in astrology, forget it. But because I was doing slideshows for kids with cancer at the time, I thought I could show them more of the beauty. I was showing them vitamins and minerals and healthy cells and things like that. So once I photographed the 12 salts, I saw that there were 4 shapes. And because I'm a microscopist by training, who knows how to categorize things, I just asked the question, was there a 4 in astrology or in the zodiac? And there were the 4 elements. And so, and it turned out that the shapes under the microscope aligned with the 4 elements. So all the minerals that were for earth signs were round. All the minerals for air signs like Gemini were square or linear, rectangular. All the minerals for water signs were like waves, and all the minerals for the fire were hexagons. And that just blew my mind. I was like, how is this possible? How could molecules express some kind of sacred ancient wisdom? And because this was at the time when I was quote, a real scientist, I ignored it, although I knew there was something there. I just was afraid of it. Like, how was this possible? And so fast forward to maybe 5 or 6 years ago, when I was talking to I have an astrological twin, by the way, was talking to her about what could I do next. And I had never told her about the cards, but I did. They weren't cards, about the pictures. Yes. And she said, you could do readings. Turns out she's a psychic reader, which I didn't know. And I said, that's not my experience. I mean, I'm a linear analytical scientist. She says, well, I'll train you. So she trained me to do readings, more intuitive readings, and got me the first 10 people to do free. And anyway, when I started working with these pictures and looking at people's temperaments according to their astrology, it was mind-blowing to me that, wow, this speaks to them. I'm getting them that right on from these images. And so started doing readings, elemental guidance readings, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and have continued that. And then I started doing a class online. I think it was the beginning of last year. Your elemental soul was to, again, combine a little bit of the cell stuff with the intuitive, metaphysical, elemental information, and see if it spoke to people, and to cover what's air all about, from nature, from Carl Jung's personality questions. So what I saw in the classes, people were really getting something from it. I mean, I could, going on for an 8-week class, you really see, oh, now I really feel connected with nature, or you really got me with these things I didn't even know about myself. And so in the class I did, the first class, I said, suggested, why don't you see how the elements speak to you creatively? And what would people do with that? One woman made a painting, somebody else made a necklace, and I pasted up cards because I had snapshots from years ago of all these images. And as I started using them as cards, it wasn't, it was nice to, I was thinking of it just as astrology, just looking at your birth sign elements. It was a nice, easy visual. And then last year, in the heart of COVID, when I was really so isolated, I decided I often would pull a card in the morning from a tarot deck, asking a question: what do I need for today? What will make today better? And so I grabbed my paste up cards. I'm not sure even why I did that. I grabbed my cards and said, what do I need for now? What do I need? And I picked, there were, at that time, there were 60 cards. Now I've got it down to 36, but there were 60 cards, and I pulled 3, and they were all air sign cards. And what air is about communication and social relationships. And here I'm sitting in isolation and pull these 3 cards that say, you got to talk more to people. You got to be more with people. It's like, that's pretty right on. And exactly. So I had no idea. I had no idea that these cards would speak to me. And long story short, then I started working with the cards, what would each card tell me? And, for scientists, this is kind of it's an area that I was not comfortable with. I'm still a little bit trusting where the information is coming from. So the cards, I would go through the cards and what's its name and what does it have to tell me? And so I've got this guidebook of what do the cards tell me, and sometimes they are changing it a little bit, but then decided, to make cards, to make it a real deck and see what other people could learn from it.
Yeah. Fantastic. And do you not think that's quite common for scientists, that very often, have, you have to see it to believe it. You have to be able to prove it and show it, and multiple times to, before you say something that you say is true. So it's very difficult then when you move into that more ethereal, intuitive, invisible almost world to actually, because it's much more difficult to prove. So many scientists that are doing such amazing work have come to that conclusion that there's something else that is not so easy to measure with either the microscope or the machines that we like to test things with. It's such an exciting time, I think, for this stuff. That's why I was so happy to see your cards, because so many of my friends use cards in various different decks. So I knew they would be excited to see something new, especially the way it's come through, because I knew, your story about realizing that there was some kind of sacred geometry. That's really kind of what it's like, isn't it? That really made no logical sense. And you saw that through your microscope, I suppose. So it's super cool.
Yeah, it was like seeing the invisible. I mean, all along that way, when I was photographing cancer cells, I saw that they told a story that was different. I mean, a visual story. There was more chaos in how the cells looked under the microscope than normal cells. And in my experience, I've always taught with using the images through the microscope. What does adrenaline look like? What does caffeine look like? And people have told me that the pictures spoke more to them than my words. So
of that. I mean, in that book, Mutant Message Down Under, that's what they were. A lot of kids, they could get them to stop smoking like that by showing them their blood before they had a cigarette, and then through a microscope, showing it to them afterwards, because suddenly they were like, oh my God, that goes from that to that. And that visual, I'm a very visual person, I know that anyway. So when you see a picture that makes it makes the words make sense on a completely different level.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I've questioned, why do we continue doing this? It's well, I spent years working on wine, and so some of the pictures you see in the background are wine through the microscope, and just looking at the quality of taste through the microscope, it's another gateway for us to understand who we are.
And it's very similar to Masaru Emoto's work, where, when he was doing the water, where you can see the shape and that's in harmony or that's not in harmony. You don't need to have any special knowledge to know if something speaks to you in that level. That's a subconscious level. The shape or the color or whatever just resonates with you or not. Yeah. So it's a form of communication, I suppose, that we in the West particularly have been a bit blind to.
Well, it's like looking at what's the field around us. How is that changing? I doubted, I may still doubt the science of Emoto, but he really showed us, he taught us that one, our body is mostly water, and that what we think influences our body. So separate from the pictures. Yes. But I was working with a winery at the time, when I was in all this doubt. And the winemaker was always angry. He was always angry. The only reason I stayed there, as a summer fellow or whatever, was because there was another winemaker who was teaching me what was going on in the wine cellar. And when I photographed the angry winemaker's wine through the microscope, it was all these daggers. So I said,
Really?
yeah, it was daggers.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, well, okay, so Emoto's not so off. We do influence. So
Well, it's like chocolat, isn't it? Making it with love and, using your intention and attention to things, you change how they, like humans. I mean, it's all energy. It's like plants, which is actually the book. It was by Cleve Baxter, The Secret of Your Cells. That was the book I was looking for when I stumbled, synchronistically. That's not
exactly.
Into your work. And I think, I love I teach everything from that cellular level, from nutrition to emotions, and how, it's influenced by the external and the internal environment via your thoughts, your beliefs, your perceptions, etc. And all of that, we're not really thinking about when we're looking at a health picture that we're trying to improve. That, none of that can be done by someone else. That's the responsibility that we have. And I think the cards, I found it like we were doing a course in family constellations a couple of weeks ago, and my friend Vida had lots of different cards out, and people are just drawn to them. They want to have just that, yes. And also mine, one of the ones I picked up said it was a picture of a door with a sort of the Garden of Eden through the door, and it said, the doorway to true healing is opening to you. And it was like, obviously that's going to make you feel good. So at the very, very least, if it gives you some kind of feeling of like, that maybe your intuition is right, or you are going in the right direction, or anything that makes you feel good's got to be a good thing, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And, it's where these cards are different. They're not drawn by an artist except nature.
Yes.
I didn't pick them out, and they're abstract. And from sharing them in classes or doing readings, I've just started using them in a reading. They have a whole different interpretation. It's like, my least favorite card is this one. And it's an alchemy card. So it's a blend of minerals for Libra and Scorpio. And I've named it Letting Go. And letting go. And I saw it as a scarecrow or a straw man, and just saw this kind of negative stuff about it. Interesting. And then when I was showing this to a friend the other day, she saw an angel.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Oh, interesting. So people, it's so open to other people's interpretation, although I have a guidebook that is my interpretation, or the alchemy of this energy. But I'm seeing that people see, it's Rorschach. People see what they need to see.
Yes.
And so that makes
absolutely beautiful. So there's 36, did you say, in the pack?
There's 36 in the pack, yeah.
And there's a little guide book.
No, this was my pay stub deck.
Okay.
And this picture is nurturing. It's earth and water. And so I've got 36, but then, to test it out before I did a Kickstarter, I had them printed in a design of, well, how did this printer do? And so I did 14 of these, and now I'll do 36. I know I have a lot more pictures, but I just chose those 36 out of the originals, probably 60. And it's a woman wanted to take my classes, but they were expensive to her. And she says, can we do a trade? So she's doing all the technical stuff,
Fantastic.
just to take my classes. She puts this on the, in the computer on, made it ready for this Kickstarter campaign. So it's been a blessing because I might have been able to do it, but I'd still be doing it next year.
Yes. And how's the Kickstarter campaign going?
As of today, today is day 8. We've got, let me see what my numbers are. 42% of the goal. Yeah, so the goal was 8,500. I tried to keep it as manageable as possible, so that we could meet it. And if we go beyond it, then I could get paid a little bit, and so could Cindy.
Yes.
I mean, she's doing it. I told her to track her hours, but she's doing it out of love.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure she just wants to bring that to life for herself and for others. You tend to find that these kind of projects are, a labor of love. And we just ran a Kickstarter for our book last year, so and it was just phenomenal. We hit our target in 2 weeks, which was incredible. And it was such a really great learning experience about how people want to help you.
Right.
It's so nice. So because obviously I'm going to put this podcast out in the next day or so, because I want to, for people to know about your cards. And I think speaking to you, I know brings it to life, to help you get your goal. But when would we be able to, when do you think I would get a pack if sent to the UK? What month? If
the month the cards would be ready? It looks like, well, the way the funding works in Kickstarter, you don't get it for 30 days. So we wouldn't probably get the money until January, beginning of January. That's when I'm going to not get it this year because of taxes. And with all this supply chain problem, I originally thought February, but now I'm seeing people who've ended Kickstarter campaigns before me, they're going to April. So I put April. If I get it out earlier, that would be great. But
exactly. You're not going to get people messaging you. No, that's fantastic. And what about your course? How sort of people listening to this are interested in learning more or do, because the only problem with your course for us was the time, because obviously there's an 8-hour time difference. But I know you can do recordings as well, can't you? And you can receive.
Well, I just the last course, Your Elemental Soul, I made at noon, on noon on Wednesdays. And there was a woman from London and 2 from Germany. So it was easy for them. It was relatively easy and easy here. So that's what I would do again, because I want to be able to embrace all of us in a live class. Absolutely. So you're asking me what my next class is?
When is it? And is it on sondrabarrett.com?
It will be on Sondra Barrett. I haven't listed, this is the first month I won't be teaching probably in a couple of years. Really? I gave myself this month to do the Kickstarter. Little did I know, Kickstarter, so it's like it's full time. So I will likely do a Secrets of Your Cells or a cell class in December. It will likely be on demand. The people can take it anytime they want to, and we can have some meetings in person. And then in January, I want to do another Your Elemental Soul or Self, because that was really rich this time.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's really good. Fantastic. So they'll be on my website.
Yeah, so people can go there and find you and find your courses. And also, can you show us some more of the cards, maybe another couple just before we finish off?
Okay, but this is appreciation.
So what's that a photograph of?
Oh, what was this one? This was the mineral for Taurus. And Taurus, builds mouths, if you will. It's rounded. And let me see. And this one is Sagittarius. So the fire signs all made hexagons. I don't know why that was. And so Sagittarius is the highest expression of light and fire. It's
Right.
curiosity. Oh, the name of it was illumination.
Yeah.
And this one is, oh, I should pull Gemini for you. Well, this is me, balance, Libra.
Yes. Oh, it's beautiful.
So let me find, here's another square,
Yes.
communication. Perfect, that's for you, right? Perfect.
Yeah.
Gemini, yeah.
Beautiful.
So, yeah, and this is ice, this is a water sign, possibilities. So the information I write comes from both the elemental perspective, it's water, what does water tell us, as well as what did the picture say?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is another water sign.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to me, some of the most interesting ones, when Lily, when I think back of what was I doing that I decided to play alchemy?
Yeah.
Decided to mix the minerals. I'm still a scientist. This one is one of my favorites.
Oh, wow. It's beautiful.
So that's an earth and air. That's the alchemy of Libra and Virgo.
Wow.
So
it's just fascinating. I just absolutely love it. Yeah. So I've ordered my set, obviously, for a friend of mine, actually, because, which I'll tell you the story, she had 3 different packs of tarot. And we went through just within literally half an hour. I said, look, pull 3 from there, pull 3 from there, pull 3 from there. Guess which card I pulled in all 3 decks?
Hierophant.
The Tower.
Oh, the Tower.
When it came out the 3rd time, we were just like, no way. Oh my God, destruction. Quite incredible.
Well, no, how I see it is you're tearing down an old structure.
Yes, absolutely.
Building new. I mean, perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah. But imagine pulling it 3 times.
Yeah. It's like I keep on pulling the flow card the 3 times this week. It's like, out of all the possibilities, yes. What is this telling me? There may be boulders in the way. You'll go around them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. That's great. Well, listen, it's been fantastic to see you. And I will get this organized. I want to keep it short so that, you know, we've got as much information and people are more likely to watch when it's not too long. And I'll let you know, and we need to have a proper chat soon.
Oh, and absolutely.
Organize your next visit to Scotland.
Yeah, that would be great.
It would be fantastic. So I will put your contact details and your Kickstarter link in the podcast. What the cards? Tell me the name of the cards.
Microcosmic Wisdom Cards.
Microcosmic Wisdom Cards. Yeah, I love that too. Awesome. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, listen, thank you so much for taking the time out in the middle of your busy campaign, and we will share and we'll get you to that target, help get you to that target, no problem. Well done. Fantastic job.
Thank you, Lilia. Thank you. So good seeing you.
Yeah, you too. Huge love.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.